Hi, everyone. So, this is my first ad for my podcast, which is kind of exciting. This is an ad for my upcoming adult beginner jazz class that I'm going to be teaching on Fridays from 7 to 8:30 p.m. at Heart Dance Space, also known as MKM Cultural Arts Center. It's at 11401 Chandler Boulevard in North Hollywood. I'm teaching it on Fridays, 7 to 8:30 p.m., starting June 7th, adult beginner jazz. Please come if you are new to dance, if you are new to jazz, or if you've been dancing for a while but you just want to get back to the basics or want a class where you don't have to stress your brain as much. Please come to my class. It's going to be a lot of fun. We're going to do a warm-up and a stretch. We're going to do a little bit of basic technique together, and then we're going to mostly get into a combo, which will be a fun song. We'll take a lot of time with it. We'll answer questions. We're going to make sure everyone leaves feeling super encouraged and like they got stronger in dance. So please come. It's going to be a great class. It's $17 starting June 7th, Fridays, 7 to 8:30 p.m. So it's an hour and a half. $17 directly to me. You can Venmo me at Tracy in LA, TracyInLA, or find me on Instagram at Tracy in LA and DM me to find out about any other payment method. You can pretty much pay me by any method: Zelle, Apple Pay, PayPal, Cash App, check, cash. Maybe not like Bitcoin, no discrimination, but I just don't know anything about cryptocurrency. Besides that, we should be good, and hopefully I'll see you there.
Dance Journey!
With Tracy in LA. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to my podcast, Dance Journey. Today we have our special guest, Laetitia Garcin.
Yes.
She's French.
We've been practicing.
I've been practicing how to say her last name, as I have to almost every time. But I'm so excited to have Laetitia on my podcast mostly because she's so excited to be on it.
Yeah.
And I think I asked her if she wanted to be on it a while back, and she said yes right away. But then later on, I think I posted something about it, and she sent me a message like, I want to be on your podcast. And I'm like, ooh, I'm so excited that she wants to be on it so much.
Course.
That just makes me happy. So tonight we are taking, what class are we taking?
Malaya's.
We were also practicing saying Malaya's name. So yeah, we're taking Malaya's lyrical class tonight. We haven't taken it yet. So we're actually going to talk a little bit about it afterwards. So we're not going to do that so much right now. But I want to tell you guys how I know Laetitia. So I don't actually know her super well, but we definitely take a good number of classes together. We take Malaya's together. We've taken Nico O'Connor's together at Movement Lifestyle and Millennium. I know you take a lot of class, but have we actually taken other classes together or no? Can't remember.
I mean, we've taken Zach's. We've taken.
Oh, that's right. Zach and Melissa. I
all
forgot
the
you take
C-spot
those.
classes.
All the C-spot classes. Sometimes I forget that you're there a lot too, because you're not
For
there
s-
every time, right?
No, I mean, it's been hard to get there lately.
Okay.
But yeah.
Because you live more out this way.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we dancers just drive all over the city trying to get everywhere. But yeah, so Laetitia, you take a lot of class. I already knew this, but recently I did a little deep dive on your Instagram, and I was like, oh, she takes everywhere too, kind of like me. Well, I was talking to Jess, and she was like, oh yeah, it'll be interesting to hear Letitia's story because she's like you. She takes class everywhere all the time. So what's your dance schedule look like right now?
So it's interesting. I do like to switch it up
Okay.
between jazz and jazz funk.
Okay.
And I go through phases a little bit. Lately, I've been going only 2 to 3 times a week tops.
Okay.
I used to go more often. I kind of scaled down because, outside of work, I'm a business analyst and accountant. And, we had tax season, a little thing called tax season, and it was very, very intense. And, I would try to push myself to go to a lot of classes, but then sometimes I wouldn't even be that present. So I was trying to find the right balance of, I need dance because otherwise, it's my outlet. Just I think we're all like that. But at the same time, you want to be in a good headspace when you go.
Yeah.
So then I started scaling down, and now I'm not really back to how I was before tax season necessarily. And honestly, I felt a little out of shape in some
Because of tax
ways.
season, because you did less dance.
Yeah. And the
Makes
other thing
sense.
too is like my body, like I have like something happening with my right side, and it's been going on for 6 months now.
Oh no.
And it just keeps kind of coming back, and I'm extremely mindful of it, and I stretch it a lot. But I tend to modify a lot of
Okay.
movements, and I think a lot of teachers don't necessarily realize that when I'm in class, but I'm actually really mindful of like not putting too much weight on my right side.
Okay.
Obviously, it's very limiting.
Is it like your whole, like everything on your right side?
It seems to be like my hip, my knee. Unfortunately,
Oh
yeah.
man.
Yeah.
I know that's hard. Do you ever tell the teachers that or you just don't
Yeah,
worry about it?
once I told Adam Parson, I told him everything on that day. The same day that he told me, you should show up earlier because I was telling him like I've been having a harder time warming up
Okay.
lately, and I was during a time when I was extra stressed,
Okay.
and I think my body was stiffer for
Yeah,
that.
that makes sense.
And so it was like this one day he was like, "But you need to show up earlier." And I finally told him, "Adam, honestly, like with my workload right now, like we're lucky that I'm here at all."
Yeah.
And,
I
and
can
then
totally hear that.
I told him about all my body injuries and how, yeah, I think it makes a big difference if I don't put too much weight on my right side, but it's also very limiting. And
Oh.
sometimes when you're very warmed up, you forget about it because you're like
Oh.
warmed up, you're excited, and it doesn't hurt at the time. It's just gonna hurt the next day.
Yeah. Oh man. Have you like talked to a doctor about it at all? Do you know anything about what's going on?
Uh, it's hard. It's hard to know. I think my alignment's never been that awesome. I
Okay.
think I have some bad habits. Acupuncture really helps me.
Okay.
But I also think it's cool because in a way, it's just forcing me to be more aware of my body in a different way. I mean, I've been hearing a lot of stories of dancers. I watch a lot of French TV. I watch a lot of interviews of French dancers from
Oh,
like
cool.
the French ballet. Like
Oh, wow,
they're
that's cool.
crazy, yeah. And they've all had injuries. Like they've all had all kinds of
Yeah,
injuries in their dance journeys. And they say, sometimes there's something artistic about it. Like it makes you change your perspective.
that's true.
And it's like, do I stop dancing? Like that's not an option for me. Like I need to go dancing.
I mean, I had an injury too for a whole year, and I learned a lot about my body through it. I was
Mm-hmm.
not happy about it when it happened, but now looking back, like I do think I grew a lot in different ways. I
Yeah.
became more aware of my body, more aware of how to take care of it. And for me, I definitely didn't want to stop dancing. Like I thought about it because I didn't know if I was going to be able to.
Yeah.
But I was like, it was my feet. So I was mostly like, I don't know, I'm just going to have to move my arms. I'm just going to have to dance with my eyeballs. Like I don't think I can totally stop, you know. And so,
Yeah.
but some people get injured and they actually realize that they don't like it enough. You know, there are
Mm.
other things because I remember going to this physical therapist once and she told me, yeah, some people just like realize after all the time in physical therapy with their injury that they just don't really even want to go back to dance. And I was like,
Maybe they don't want to risk
crazy.
it.
I don't know, or maybe they just don't. You know, it's a lot of discipline, and maybe once people have a break, they're like, "Oh, it's kind of nice to have a break." And maybe they just actually really do like doing other things. You know?
Yeah, and that's the thing. It's like when it really hurts, when my hip really hurts. Yeah, I can do acupuncture, I can do these things, but honestly, not dancing for a few days is honestly the best way to,
To heal it.
yeah,
Yeah.
unfortunately.
That's what I kind of learned through my injury. It's like, well, I learned that a little bit of rest
Yeah.
initially, you really just got to do it. But then I also learned not to rest too long, unless you
Mm-hmm.
absolutely have to. But even if it's still a little bit there, I've learned from me, anyways, and from some other people that have told me about their injury experiences, it's often good to like start getting back a little more quickly than you maybe thought you could, just to
Mm-hmm.
start to work it, even if you have to do it in a modified
Yeah.
way.
Yeah.
Because when you just completely don't do anything with the muscle for too long, it actually can become worse, which is kind of what happened to me with my injury. So it's
Yeah.
just like a fun, it's hard. It's like that's why it's good to be in tune with it. And I'm glad that you are safe and know your body and don't overly worry about what the teachers think.
Yeah, and I try to tell them before class, and I feel grateful that obviously we're dancers and we're in a world where modifying is allowed. Like
Yeah.
it's not
Yeah.
forbidden. Like it's an art form, and um, yeah, I think it's a beautiful thing to be able to modify. So
Yeah. And so right now you're taking about 3 classes a week, and so your favorite styles are lyrical, jazz, and jazz funk.
yeah, I would
Okay.
say so. Yeah. Um,
And um so yeah, so that's what your life looks like right now, and you're an accountant, so lots going on. But tax season is over, or is it still sort of continuing because people have like late?
Yeah, I have some people on extensions.
Okay.
They're not the easiest ones either. That's
Yeah.
why they're on extensions.
Makes sense.
And also, nonprofits have a different deadline.
Okay.
So
So it's still kind of going, but not quite as bad as like when
it
everybody
is.
was doing it. Oh my gosh. Well, I'm glad you made it to this. You made it really early, so
I
that
know.
was
I'm
good.
just punctual.
So yeah, so that's kind of what I already knew about you is what you do now. So I want to hear, and everyone wants to hear how you got started, what your story is. So like, when did you first start dancing, and also where did you grow up?
So it's interesting. I'm French American.
Mm-hmm.
I grew up, but I grew up, I was born and grew up on an island called the Seychelles. So
Okay,
I'm an island girl. And I
cool.
was there until I was 12. So I
And
was
wait, where
really,
is that?
it's in the Indian Ocean.
Oh, okay.
And it's like a big destination, vacation destination in
Oh,
France.
cool.
If I tell people Seychelles, they're like, oh, you're so lucky.
It's called like Seychelles,
Mm-hmm.
kind of like seashells.
Yeah, it's off of the east coast of Africa.
Okay.
And
I'm gonna look this up.
and then I moved from there to France, like in high school, and then I came here for college, and so I've been in the U.S. for a while now. So
Wow. So then did you start doing dance when you were on the island?
I was dancing a little bit over there. We didn't have like a ton of like really serious schools, you
Okay.
know. And I always danced pretty casually up until 10 years ago. So I'm not someone who grew up dancing in jazz conventions or anything like that. So
Yeah.
it's a different dance journey, I think.
Yeah.
So, and I feel really grateful to be able to take class with also all kinds of dancers that have different, background. And that's why, yeah, it's really inspiring. But in the same time, I think I'm a really different style. So you have to also embrace that.
Well, what kind of styles did you do since there wasn't as much available for you? What were the styles you were doing when you were young?
I did some ballet.
Okay.
Yeah. And so the thing about me as a dancer is my arms are abnormally long.
Oh, really?
I have very long arms.
I never noticed. Okay.
Yeah, relative to the yeah. It's
Really?
crazy.
Oh, yes. Oh my gosh, they are kind of long.
They're
Okay.
so long.
I would have never thought.
Yeah. And so it's a big part of my dance journey to understand that. It's
Okay.
taken me a while to even understand how it's very different.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And so I did ballet as a kid, and so that's a little bit flowier with the arms.
Yeah.
But then started taking jazz funk, and you have to be, have really good lines,
Yeah.
and your arms have to be straight. And it took me a while to realize how I basically like if the class is a little bit crowded, and I did this again last Sunday at Will Bell's class
Oh, you took
at
Will
Millen.
Bell's?
Yeah,
Oh,
I love
it's
this
so
guy.
hard, but he's really good. I
Yeah,
took it once and I was like, oh my gosh, it's so intense.
yeah. And I hit someone.
Oh
But
no.
essentially, if I want to do the right thing to train my arms to look
Yeah.
right, I have to hit people next to me. That's the only way. And I'm too polite, so I don't hit people most of the time, unless I really forget, which I did because I got so into it. But yeah. And so that's partially why my arms are not where they need to be. Like,
Interesting.
I think my arms are a big weakness in my dancing because I have to hit people to
I'm
train my
like, I
arms.
bet, well, you probably like classes when only like five people show up. It's probably your favorite
Sadly,
thing.
yes.
I mean,
I
I
mean,
actually like that too, anyways, but
yeah. And like sometimes like we were watching, like we were doing groups where like it was just the class split in two. And I was on the side and I was like practicing, which is what we're supposed to
yeah.
do. But then I hit a girl and by the way, she got pretty mad.
You're like, I have long arms, just leave me alone.
Yeah. And I
Oh
have
my
a friend who's
gosh.
like a giant. Um, and we were talking about that in general, how it's hard to be a tall dancer,
Yeah.
very hard. And having long arms, man, it's if the class is crowded, it's a handicap. It really
But
is.
I feel like if it was just you, and it would probably be more beautiful to have long arms or to be tall because it's just like you can have such a long extension. But like,
Yeah.
yeah, when there's other people around, you have to be like, I guess we all have to be spatially aware because I hit people too, and I don't
Yeah.
have extra long arms, but like it's anybody can do that, especially in like a crowded class.
Yeah.
So it's like everyone has to work on spatial awareness, but I guess for you it's like even more intense, which that does not sound fun at all. So I get you. And I have always been short, obviously. But I have one of my really close friends is a tall dancer, and she kind of talks about that struggle sometimes.
Yeah.
But We need tall dancers. We need every kind of dancer. So,
Yeah, they say it looks really good on stage,
yeah,
but the thing is, it's about that muscle memory. Like my muscle memory on my arm is just, it's bad.
because you're so used to kind of like shrinking back. That's kind of what my tall friend said. My tall friend, she was like, because I think she said this that she would sort of just like shrink down,
Yeah,
but teachers have had to tell her like embrace your height, like dance full, don't try to
don't
be short or try
apologize.
to be
Yeah.
like anyone else. This is that's beautiful. Your height, your arms, your whatever, it's you. So you have to bring it and embrace it. So um that's so interesting. It's good. It's interesting to know because it's good to know people. We all have different struggles in dance, and it's
Mm-hmm.
interesting to kind of hear about that. So thanks for sharing that. But
Yeah.
I would have never noticed. Even you saying it now, I was like, really? I did not like see it or anything. But um, okay, so you did ballet more when you were young. And did you like ballet? Because you don't really do much ballet right now, right?
No, I mean the closest thing is lyrical jazz.
Right.
I think. I it's on my list. I want to do ballet again.
Okay.
Like maybe I'll go to Kana's class. It's not like she like every 2 days. She has
Yeah, she's
there's no
great.
excuse.
Have you ever been to West Side School of Ballet? Well, you don't really go out that
I
way
think
as
you were
much.
telling me about it.
I just love it there. I mean, Con is also good, but I don't know. I just love it there. But if you ever want to come with me sometime. Um, okay, so you did ballet and then you moved to France. Where at?
In Versailles.
Okay.
So it's in like the west side of Paris,
Okay,
kind of
nice.
bourgeois.
Yeah. And you did dance there?
I did a little bit, not a ton. Um, Honestly, I had a really rough transition between like living on an island and moving to Versailles. It was kind of brutal.
What was like the hardest part about that transition?
Just the culture was completely different.
How so?
It was like, I mean, I was also a teenager, so it wasn't the best
Okay.
time to like be in shock of like
Yeah.
culture. And losing my friends in the island that I grew up with, and also dealing with winter. Honestly, just little things like I
Oh yeah,
couldn't
because it
stand the cold.
was like
Yeah,
tropical on the island.
yeah,
And were your parents moving because of a job or something like that?
yeah. I
Okay.
mean, ultimately that was the plan. There were expats over in Seychelles, but they stayed longer than expected. So I was there
Okay.
until I was 12. That's all I knew.
That's pretty cool. I love that was your upbringing. That sounds fun.
Yeah, yeah.
And then in Versailles, did you do ballet mostly or other
I
stuff too?
I did some jazz.
Okay.
Yeah. So in Paris they call it modern jazz,
Okay.
and it's what we call jazz here.
Okay. So like modern jazz.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Do you see a difference between how it is there and how it is here?
There's a little difference in style. Like it's hard for me to really explain it.
Okay.
It's probably a little less sassy than here. We
That
have
makes
we have
sense.
some
I
good
feel like
sassy
I've
teachers
seen
here.
Yeah. I would like to learn it a little bit less
Yeah,
sassy. I mean, the sass is fun, but it would also be fun to do it a little different
yeah.
too. That's interesting. Do you,
And they have a warm up that they do with their arms. It's an arm warm up,
okay,
and I've only seen this warm up in Paris. It's just arms,
just arms, like you're not doing anything else
and
for that.
it's just the lines.
Oh, that's
Literally, that's all
cool.
you do, like up, sides. Yeah,
Oh, wow, that's really cool. So it's kind of like port de bras, but just for
yeah,
jazz, and it's just that.
yeah.
And they do that in the warm up. That's cool. Um, and then you came out here for college.
Hmm.
And where did you go to school?
In the Bay Area, I was in San Jose.
Oh, okay. I lived in San Jose.
Yeah,
Um, okay, that's what I saw on your Instagram because you had San Francisco or maybe it was San Jose
yeah.
on there. So do you go back up there a lot?
Not so much these days, but I still have some good connections there, and that's where I got serious with dance at the beginning. So about 10 years ago, I
Okay.
started taking class every 2 days, sometimes every day. Yeah.
Okay. And what kind of got you to start getting serious with it back then?
I think I was just working too much. I was overworked, and I
Okay.
didn't have any balance. And I figured I was doing before that I was doing a lot of extreme sports, kite surfing, stuff like that,
Oh, wow.
diving. Yeah,
Whoa, that's
all
cool.
gear oriented, and then
Wow.
I just needed something more creative, like an artistic outlet.
Okay.
And I started taking class at City Dance in San
Okay.
Francisco, and
Okay.
also at Lions.
Okay.
So some jazz, some hip hop. the hip hop scene up there is very influenced by an amazing teacher. His name is Alan Frias.
Okay.
He was on, I think, the first season ever of So You Think You Can Dance, or if I'm not mistaken, one of these shows.
Yeah,
Sorry,
yeah, yeah.
sorry, I'm
That's
bad.
okay.
But he was like one of the first ones.
Wow.
And and he influenced like the entire Bay Area scene, like the hip
Wow.
hop. He's like the godfather.
And what's his name again?
Alan Frias.
Okay, I need to look him up.
He lives in Texas now.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Does he teach dance and stuff in Texas?
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Where at in Texas, do you know?
I think Houston.
Okay. In case I ever go there.
Mm-hmm.
That's cool. So you felt like, and that was when you started college, was when you got into dance, or was it after college?
It was after college.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I started late.
you didn't really do a lot of dance during college because
No.
you're probably focused.
Yeah. I
And
was
you were
studying and working.
becoming an accountant in
Mm-hmm.
college.
I was doing business analyst and then eventually transitioned more to accountant. But I
Okay.
took a lot of accounting classes for my business degree. And
Okay. And did you like business? Is that why you chose it?
yeah, I mean, I'm someone who, it's interesting. I think I have a very strong business instinct. So that's a lot of what I use in addition to numbers and crunching numbers. I help a lot of my clients with business instinct type
Okay.
stuff that I never thought about it as something that I can bring to the table, but then I realize I help a lot of people with it,
Yeah.
make them think of their business in a different way, and it's cool.
Wow. That's really awesome.
And it's simple, you know. It's thinking about the simple things, but I think we forget about the simple things.
No, that's true.
And honestly, I feel the same way about dance.
How would you apply that to dance?
I think we get pretty wrapped up into just a lot of the technical stuff, or we want to go fast. You know, it's interesting when you ask yourself, what is your measure for success with anything? You ask yourself that question. I think it's very easy for a lot of humans, a lot of us, we just have the wrong measure for success. And it's not that it's not important. It's not that those things are not important, but you know, when you're dance and when you're performing a show, you see what the audience reacts to, and a lot of times it's the simplest things. Maybe it's a look
Yeah.
or something really genuine that happens that when the dancers relax more, maybe, you know,
Yeah.
it's just
That makes sense.
it's all the things that we don't really practice as much in a way. But I mean, the teachers in LA are really good at actually at that type
That's
of
true.
stuff more than
They'll
like in
emphasize
Paris. Yeah, like they'll tell us, okay, you need to work on smiling. Like my face was so closed up naturally when I started dancing. Like my dance teachers would really call me on it. I think it's also a Parisian thing that we look, by default, I can look really pissed off. Like if people don't know me, they think I'm like not that relaxed.
Oh,
But
I've been told that about myself too. Even though I feel like I smile a lot, but I have also been told that.
really?
And I'm like, well, I don't, I'm a pretty joyful person, but I think sometimes I get focused.
Yeah.
And then I'm just like, I guess I look like I could look mad or something, but I'm just like focusing. Or I could look sad, but I'm like, I'm not sad. I'm just like in
Mm-hmm.
it, I'm focused. But I think here, like you were saying, a lot of the LA teachers, a lot of the teachers here will remind us, like, also think about your face, guys, because on the camera, a lot of times, unfortunately, they're not even going to see your body. Like, you're
Yeah.
working so hard to get the dance moves perfect, but a lot of LA is dancing on camera
Mm-hmm.
versus like on stage and stuff. And they're going to mostly see your face. You might be
Yeah.
working so hard with your body, and they're really just mostly looking at your face. I think I had a teacher recently say, like, the audience is going to be most like, impressed with like the how you look with your face, and we don't think about it as much because we're like, I'm just trying to get all the moves correct, and you're focusing so hard, and sometimes my face looks like this.
Yeah. Like we're working.
Or just stressed, you know. I'm like not stressed, I'm having fun, but like I'm just really focused, I guess. So yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah, we forget those really good performers that look like they're completely relaxed.
Yeah.
It's a lot of work to look this relaxed. It's
Yeah.
not natural if you're working hard. Yeah,
Yeah, some
it's
of the
hard to
really
do.
good dancers in class, I'm like, they just make it look so easy. I know it's not easy, but like
Like they're
they
not
make it look easy.
preoccupied.
Yeah, which is probably why someone who doesn't dance probably could look at someone and be like, I could do that.
Yeah.
Well, they're making it look very easy, but it's not. So you
Yeah.
have someone like me who puts a face that looks hard. So you know that it's hard.
Yeah, I've had some friends like they're like, "Oh, maybe I'll go to this class with you." I'm like, "You know what? Don't start with that class." Because
That's what happens to me too. They're always like, I want to come to dance with you. And it's not that I don't want them to. I would love
Yeah.
them to come to dance with me. It's just like, to me, it feels like they don't realize, like, we've been training for a long time. We're in intermediate or advanced classes. Like, so, I would never jump into like an intermediate or advanced, like, accounting class with you if I haven't started studying
So
accounting.
fun.
But that would be weird. Not have fun with that. But for dance, because it can be a hobby and because it can just be for fun, people are like, oh, it's a fun thing. I just want to come with you. And it's like, well, it's people are pretty serious about it, especially in LA. And if you try to go to an intermediate or advanced class for your first class or something, like, you might get trampled by everybody and
It
you
could
might
be
be
a
really
trauma.
stressed
Yeah.
and like it might not be fun at all. So definitely, like, I always try to recommend any sort of like a beginnerish class that I know of. Unfortunately, there's not as many beginner classes as there used to be before the pandemic, at least in LA. But yeah, I totally hear you because I have friends like that all the time too that are like, I want to come with you. I'm like, okay, let me think of something you can come to.
And it means you did a great job because they saw your video. They're like, oh,
That looks fun,
yeah, that looks
which
easy, and
is
that's means you did a great
cool.
job.
Like, they're like, yeah, I mean, I would love for everybody to be dancing. I do think it's fun. And I saw that you do you go to New York regularly, or you went recently or something?
I went recently, and I really enjoy it over there. Different.
Yeah.
It's different.
Yeah, it is different in a good way though.
Hmm.
There's good ways for both, but
Well, I told you I was taking Will Bell's class last Sunday, and now
mhm.
he's always in New York.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Okay, I'm not surprised.
yeah.
He seems like a New York teacher, honestly.
And he's getting more and more Broadway, actually. I
Okay.
can see the evolution.
Do you wear heels in his class?
No, I don't own those shoes.
I don't either.
I kind of want to try them, but well, at this point, he's not teaching that often. Like
Okay.
because I like to take him consistently. At some point, I was going every Sunday, which is a good example of how for me, I can't go out that much Saturday night if I go to his class on Sunday at 11. Personally, like it's a good example of sometimes we make those choices. Yeah, but at this point, there's a slot at Millennium every Sunday 11, but
It's a lot of times a sub,
it's been rotating people. Um,
but he is really good. I took him, I think, only once. I've taken that class before with the subs, but the one time I took him, it was really good. I felt like if I kept coming to this, I would grow. I took it in jazz shoes. I didn't wear
yeah,
heels, but it was also a little bit traumatizing because it was a little intense, and I was like, I don't know if I want to like be here right now. I'm like,
yeah.
maybe I need to wait a little bit and then come back and get a little bit better. But the fact is, when you go to those classes, you do get better. It's like,
Hmm.
I don't want to run away from classes that are hard. But you have to like find the balance of like class. Like, if a class is so hard that you're just like not getting it at all, then it's like, I
Hmm.
feel like it's not time for that yet. But you do want to go to classes that are hard. Otherwise, you're not going to grow. So I try to remind myself that when I'm watching a video and I'm like, oh my gosh, I did so bad. It's like, well, this class is hard for you. So you
Well, first
grew,
time with a teacher, or if it's the first time with a teacher in a long time, it's
Yeah.
always so hard. Like there's
Yeah.
a big difference.
Yeah.
But then you start taking them consistently. I mean, Malaya told me once, inevitably you're gonna grow. You do something consistently, you're just gonna grow.
Yeah.
And she's so awesome at making us accountable for showing up. Like, I love that about Malaya. I mean, yeah.
Just the way she like makes us sign up ahead of time and that type of thing. Is that what you
Literally,
mean?
like, she's like, I'm gonna see you on Saturday, right? Like, she makes me feel
Yeah.
like I'm just gonna be a slacker if I don't show up.
That's true.
And
She does do that.
yeah, she was doing that over Zoom during the
Oh,
pandemic.
really?
She actually really helped me to keep dancing during the
Wow.
pandemic.
That's
Yeah,
cool.
she was like on the list of people that
Yeah.
saved my dance
I
life.
didn't know about her back then, but that's really cool. Did you do any of the New York classes during the pandemic?
A little bit. It was hard for me to take class on Zoom. Some people
Okay.
are better at it than
Yeah.
others. No, I honestly, I was kind of sticking with her. I did Melissa's class, and I actually hadn't taken her before that. And then, yeah, I was trying to like stick to the same teachers, and also I like to also take teachers who will actually do the same routine more than once because
That
I
is
always like
nice.
that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but it was hard, and I modify even more if I'm on Zoom. I start doing my own choreography. Yeah,
Because they can't tell, or because your space is like limited, or
because I feel like there's other dancers around me. That factor of you have other dancers around you doing the same thing, and it makes you accountable for
Yeah.
following the
When
choreography.
you're by yourself, like it doesn't matter. I'm like a little square on the screen.
Yeah.
But I know that's what I used to think when I started taking virtual classes, and then I was like, wow, the teachers can see everything. They're like correcting. At least the teachers I was taking, I'm like, how do they even see me in this little square? So I felt like I couldn't
I
usually
didn't
get
love
away with
that.
it.
I didn't love that. I was like,
Did you
sometimes
ever
I,
turn your square off?
yeah, sometimes I would turn off the camera because it was honestly, it was making me even more nervous than if they're watching me in class. I was feeling like, oh, they're scrutinizing me.
Oh my gosh. And they would be like, does anybody want to do the spotlight?
Yeah, no.
I was like, I would get so nervous, but I was working with a teacher like privately, and he would always be like, I think you should do the spotlight tomorrow. I think you should. And I was like, "Ooh." So I would like push myself to sometimes do it, but I would get so nervous. And now I don't think I would get as nervous because I was more beginner back then and I hadn't danced in front of cameras a lot. Now I feel like
Yeah,
every class we're dancing in front of cameras. So I think, and it's like, you're at home. Like, I feel like it's the least place for to be nervous, even if you were spotlighted. But back then, it was like such a big deal. And I was like, oh my gosh, I got spotlighted today in class. And then I messed it up. And then I'm like crying about it afterwards. And I'm like, why am I taking this so seriously?
yeah.
But yeah, that was definitely an interesting time. So, how would you say, okay, so you said New York feels different than LA, because you kind of described the difference in France a little bit. How would you describe the difference in New York with dance?
Just Broadway's a massive influence there. I
Yeah.
mean, people like show up with their hats, and it's
Oh
just
gosh, yeah.
different style, and I didn't think I liked it that much, and then I started taking some of these classes, and I was like, oh, okay, I can feel the vibe. Like I get it,
Yeah.
it's playful, and
Yeah.
they're very precise,
Yes.
so much precision.
I feel like they're very technical. And
Yeah,
yeah, so much musical theater, and that I wasn't super excited about doing musical theater, but that was the classes that fit in my schedule through New York during the pandemic, and I was like, I guess I'll take it. And same as you, I started out like,
mm-hmm.
I don't know, this isn't really what I was looking for, to being like, this is pretty fun and like getting pretty into it. I
Yeah,
never wore like the character shoes or anything because I didn't have that and I was at home. So I'm like, that would be a whole different ball game. Like wearing that because I haven't really danced like that before. I should probably try it at some point, but it is pretty fun and I would like to go. I've only done a New York class in person one time, one class
yeah,
ever. So it would be cool to like do a trip again and like
yeah,
actually do a bunch of classes. Do you take when you were there in person, you went to Broadway Dance Center? Did you go to Steps on Broadway?
yeah.
Where did you go anywhere else?
I think that was it.
Those are
Especially
kind of
for
the
my
main
recent trip,
ones.
I didn't go anywhere else. It's always
Okay.
when you're staying with non-dancers, I don't want to be rude either.
I
And
know. That's why I only went to one class last time I was in New York because I was going for work and then a friend came and met me to like do a vacation afterwards, which was really fun. But she was like, I tried to convince her to take a class. She like was not gonna take any dance class. And I was like, even like a beginner hip
yeah,
hop? She's like, no. I'm like, oh man. So I still had fun, but yeah, I ended up only doing one class because
I
yeah,
know.
if you're not with the dancer friends, you gotta like make compromises. But
It's hard.
I was like, why would you go to New York and not dance every day,
I
everywhere?
know.
That's the only thing I want to do there. Um,
It's crazy because those old buildings, they have like chauffage central, as we say in France,
what is that?
which means like there's a central heating.
Yeah.
They can't control it.
Oh,
And so it's really, in the winter, it's really cold outside, really hot in the
really
dance studio.
hot.
Yeah, they're blasting the heater. And someone told me they do that in New York. Like historically, it's been a thing. Like they were doing it on purpose to, not necessarily just in dance studio, in all the buildings in New York,
Yeah.
to make people open their windows because of diseases.
Really?
Yeah, and that's where supposedly I was told that's where it comes from, and
Oh.
that's why in New York you notice that in the winter the heat's really like high up in like a lot of buildings,
Oh.
and it's you cannot adjust it.
I'm like, to me, I'm like, that kind of sounds nice. Actually, I remember my teacher in New York, I think he used to tell me that it would get really hot. I'm like, ooh, I love heat.
Me
Well,
too,
not
but
always. No, not always.
well then you get sick because you go outside right after
Yeah,
that.
it's
It's
like
like
such a extreme. So what was I gonna ask you? Oh yeah, so you're taking all these classes, you obviously love it. Do you have any, oh, I have a couple. There's too many questions. How much time do we have left? Okay. Well, have you been back to France since you like moved? I was gonna ask you that first.
yeah, I mean I go at least once a
Oh,
year.
you do? Okay.
Mhm.
And do you take dance there when you go?
Mhm.
And is that like, is it fun to just like,
It's very cool because you feel like you have a worldwide family that you're connected
yeah,
with, and
through
it's
dance?
yeah.
That's cool.
No matter where you go, like you go to the dance studio and it's like, okay, this is my dance family and we all want the same thing.
Yeah.
That's one of the things I love about dance.
And like you speak French,
Yes.
right? But like I think it'd be cool. Like, I don't really, I mean, I know a tiny bit of French. I took a little bit of French when I was young, but I think it'd be cool to try to take a dance class where you don't speak the language and just like see how it
Yeah.
goes. Because I've seen people do that here
Yeah.
who don't speak English, and it's amazing to me. I'm like, wow, they're doing so great.
Mm-hmm.
Because I've like tried to talk to them and realize like, oh, they don't,
Yeah.
And I'm like, that would be me if I took class in any other country, and it's pretty cool because dance is just your body. Granted, it is better if you can understand the teacher talking, but even if you can't, you're watching, you're learning that way, and I'm sure it like heightens that sense since you can't really understand them. So I'm like, oh, that'd be so cool, and I would love to do that in France too. I think that would be really cool.
Yeah.
Also, because like ballet is just like all French words.
Mm-hmm.
So I just think I'm like, well, at least know what those words are. So
Yeah,
that'd be
and it's
cool.
cool if you see like some visiting American teachers in Paris and you see them there. It's like,
Oh,
oh, hey.
yeah, that is cool. Yeah, it's just like everybody's connected.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, but then I was also gonna ask you, so you obviously love dance, you take all these classes, you also take them a few different places, which is super cool. Do you have like any specific goals for dance, or is it just like, no, I'm happy with my life. I'm happy with not that that means you're not happy with your life, but like you're just like, okay, this is my job, and then I have dance, and I want to keep growing, but there's no specific goals, or is there like something specific?
So I really, my goal at this point, I want to keep it up.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and yeah, a lot of people ask me that, a lot of non-dancers, when I tell them I'm a dancer. So I tell people I'm a dancer, even though I'm not a professional dancer,
Yeah,
which
because
is
you
an
are a
interesting
dancer.
question. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, everyone always wants you to like do shows, which I don't really do shows
Okay.
anymore. When I started dancing seriously in the Bay Area, there were mostly workshops and stuff like
Okay.
that I would do. So these workshops, they give you a lot of structure, and it's also really close to the experience of being a professional
Oh,
dancer. You
cool.
show up like late rehearsals and you're exhausted. The director's in a bad mood. Um, yeah, you have the full experience, and then you have those 3 minutes of show, which
Yeah.
of course it feels amazing
Wow.
for 3 minutes.
Yeah.
They're like
So
after
much
2 months.
work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was cool to have that experience, and then I realized I want to stay focused on being in the studio in class for some reason.
Yeah.
I just really like it that way.
Yeah.
And I'm not someone who can handle the dance world very well in terms of it's just the way dancers are treated, I think is really hard.
Yeah.
I
How
don't
do you
think I would
feel
do well
like,
with that.
how do you, how do you, I mean, I know what you're saying, but like, how do you know how they're treated, and how do you feel like they're treated?
So I feel like they're treated a little bit like cattle
Yeah.
because there's just so many dancers.
Yeah.
You have the fact that at auditions you're given a number and you're called by your number. I know it's like the tradition and it's been like that for decades or centuries, um, but it just doesn't evolve. And I don't know. I don't know what the answer is.
Yeah. I know. Could everybody have their names? And I
Probably
think it would be
not.
hard for them to like see them. But I get what you're saying. It's like, could there be a different way? Now, have you experienced this? Like, have you gone on auditions or anything?
I've gone to like 2 auditions in my life,
Okay.
and honestly, it's not necessarily like if I'm treat, personally treated like this that I'm really, really like taking it hard. I really take it hard when I see other people being treated
Mm,
like this.
yeah.
Even if the outcome is positive, like regardless of what the outcome is, just witnessing this process is really hard for
Yeah.
me. In the same way that in some dance classes, the way that the select groups are approached can sometimes really make me feel like it's too violent.
Mm,
I think there's a way to do it, maybe keeping it on the down low and going fast, doing like a few select groups really fast, not making it a
yeah.
huge deal. But I feel
Yeah.
like sometimes, especially in LA, it's like a big deal.
Yeah.
And I don't love, honestly, I personally don't care, but I see younger dancers and they're devastated if they're not select. It's
Yeah.
just hard
Oh,
for me to witness that,
yeah.
honestly.
I
It's
get
too
that.
violent.
It is interesting watching the way different teachers handle that. Like some teachers
Yeah.
don't pick any special groups. at all, and they just divide the class, in smaller groups in general. They go by numbers. And then like some teachers do lots of small groups. So you might be able to tell there's one group that's kind of they picked to like have, because if people want, I get why they do it, because if you are a really good dancer and you're very professional, it's nice for you to be with the other professionals so you have a
Of
really
course.
good looking video. So I completely respect that.
Of course.
But at the same time, I totally get what you're saying, because there are some classes where you're like, okay, this the way it's being done, not that it's the teacher's intention necessarily, but just like the way it's being handled really makes people who maybe had fun the whole class, but now they're leaving kind of like depressed. Like they're like, okay, I mean, I thought I was doing good, but I guess not? But
Yeah.
I think that's also a little bit, for me, it's like, well, every teacher has reasons for the way they do things, and I don't want to be overly critical. And if I also want to encourage dancers to like be happy for other people too, and
Mm-hmm.
not let themselves get too devastated about that, but realize like, no, I thought I did pretty good for myself. Like I was growing, and when I watched the select group, I saw good things they were doing, so that was, I can learn from that, and to also have that mindset. But at the same time, I keep going back and forth, but I'm like, yeah, at the same time, like I have seen teachers do it differently, and there are teachers that are a little more creative with it that
Mm-hmm.
helps everyone leave feeling pretty encouraged.
Mm-hmm.
And I do have an extra admiration for that, because I
Yeah.
think it is hard to find creative ways to kind of give everyone what they need,
Mm-hmm.
because people are at a little bit different levels, and that's totally fine. And people want to get different kinds of videos, and I get that. But yeah, you just want everyone to leave feeling like good and encouraged and like they grew. And so,
Mm-hmm.
and it's nice to dance with different people. Like there's a teacher, so Cher Flair. Have you ever taken Cher Flair?
Yeah.
Oh, I
We
love
love
her.
her. Yeah.
So she does it a really good way, where she does kind of pick a select group, but she lets people dance so much
Yeah.
and in different groups. So you get to dance with different people. So even though maybe these three people were the best and did get in a group, I also got to dance with one of them.
Yeah.
She just has you go so many times, and she always brings a camera person, but she emphasizes like to not be stressed about it. She just wants us to like practice dancing to the camera so we can get better at it. She really emphasizes that we're just learning how to be on camera. It's not because we're trying to be like absolutely perfect. We're just like, we're trying to grow at being on camera. So she gives everybody lots of chances. It
Yeah.
doesn't matter if you're the least experienced or the most. I mean, she mostly gives almost everyone about the same amount of chances. I always feel like I danced a lot, and like I danced in front of the camera a lot, and I tend to be one of the lesser experienced in her class. So for me to feel like that is pretty good. And I think she's very creative about it. And I don't even know, it's like she's like, okay, now you three, now you two. She does a really good job of that.
Yeah. I like the way she does it. She goes fast, and yeah, it
Yeah,
doesn't feel like it eats up dance time, which is
totally.
my big pet
I
peeve.
feel like
It's
you're
like,
dancing a lot. Yeah, some of the classes it's like a little too long with watching
or
everybody.
watching the teachers select people, which like for some reason some of them love to take their time, and yeah,
Oh, I get what you're saying. I never thought about that, but you're right. Some
I think
teachers take a
some
little
of them have a
long.
little bit of a moment with it. I mean, not all of them. I'm not gonna drop any names. I love my teachers. They're awesome.
You know, well, whatever teachers you're going to, you obviously love them enough to keep going. So we don't want
Exactly.
to say anything bad
No,
about them,
no.
but as a student, you do kind of see like people's styles, and there's always going to be things you like or don't like as much about it. And I get what you're saying. They take like a little too long picking people. But also it's probably hard to like pick people. If I were a teacher and there was too many people in my class, I don't
Mm-hmm.
even know how I could like. And some of them are very good at that. I'm like, I don't even know how I could pick out like the 12 that were like the
Yeah, I
best.
know. Like they seem to
Like, how
remember.
do you
Yeah.
even like watch everybody? I mean, some of them probably they just know because they come to class all the time, so they know they're probably one of the best. But like, I'm like, how can you watch the whole group and be like, I remember the girl in the white shirt, the girl in the blue shirt,
Mm-hmm.
like this? Like, I would not be able to remember everybody that looked really good, but they do a pretty good job, because I'm like, oh, they really did pick the people that were really
Mm.
like nailing it. So it's I respect it. It's a good skill, but there's different. I think the main thing we're emphasizing is there's different ways to go about it. It's not a bad thing, but just to be mindful of maybe the process. Maybe do it a little faster. Maybe do it
Faster.
like a little differently, just to help everyone feel really good when they leave. Because it's such a good feeling to leave dance class. I mean, it feels good to be there, but the feeling I have after dance class when I've like accomplished it,
Mm-hmm.
even if I didn't get it perfect, but if I did something, if I accomplished something and did grew in some way, I'm like, wow, I did that.
Yeah.
And so sometimes you just don't want that feeling taken away from some weird thing that happens in class, you know? It's like, no, wait, I was feeling so good about that. Why am I feeling bad now?
You know what I like? I like when the teacher will go, okay, do we have any volunteers? Anyone that
I
wants to
like
go?
that
I think it's
too.
really good because it takes guts to
Yeah.
volunteer, so it pushes us to
Yeah.
push ourselves. I have a story around that. It was at playground a long time ago, and I forgot who the teacher was. It was at the time when at playground they would let the parents just kind of in and attend
Oh,
class, and it was just too much because there were too many kids.
wow.
Yeah, it was too much. It was crazy.
That's funny.
And the teacher went, do we have any volunteers? And some mom on the side was talking to her kid and said, volunteer, volunteer, I'll give you money later. It was
Did
so,
they go?
yeah, I think so. It was
I mean,
so,
I would go if my parents were going to pay me for it.
I was like, oh my God. Yeah,
That's
the
so
parents get
funny.
really into, like, they're pretty intense.
That is so funny. I took, who did I take? What's that? Kelly Sweeney. Have you taken her?
No,
She does jazz funk. She's really fun.
Saturdays, yeah, I keep seeing her name.
Or maybe Saturdays at Millennium. I think Sundays at Playground. But her Sundays are beginning intermediate, so it's a little bit easier because she has so many people in class and a lot of kids. So it's just like sometimes like I like watching little kids dance. I think it's super fun. I especially like when there's just like one or two in class. I'm like, oh,
Yeah,
they're cute. It's fun to watch them. But when there's like a million kids in class, I can't, I feel like claustrophobic or something. Like there's too many. And I feel like
yeah,
they all clump together. And I'm like, I don't have any space.
yeah,
And you would think it'd be easy because they're like shorter, but I still felt like, I'm like, I wish she would have an adult class and a kid class because I think she's great. I love her class. There's just so many kids and I love kids, but I don't think I can take class with 50 kids. I just
yeah, me
can't.
neither. Me neither.
It's too much for me. It just like it's not fun for me anymore. I'm just like, okay. But yeah. Okay, well, we have to go to class in a minute. We are going to talk about the class afterwards, so we'll see you guys in a second. But before we wrap up, or as we wrap up, is there any advice you would give to a dancer or someone who wants to try
Oh
dance?
my God. Oh, Malia. So I think the advice would be just be consistent in showing up
Mm,
and don't give up and do you. I don't even love that expression.
I don't
it's
love that expression
it's
either.
overused, but honestly, you have to do your own goal and
Yeah.
have your own objective because you're the best person to know
Yeah.
what your objective is, what growth means for you.
Wait, did
You're
you
gonna know
answer
that.
my question of what your
The
goal was?
advice,
Wait, did you
just to keep it up,
just to keep it
to,
up?
to
Okay,
keep
okay.
it up, and then yeah, I feel like that I didn't answer as well. That for me, a lot of the measure for success in dance is connecting with the music. So a
I love
lot of
that.
times when I leave class feeling like I connected with the music and I heard what the choreographer is hearing, that's when I feel like that sense of bliss,
Oh,
you
I
know?
love that. I get that, and
Yeah,
I don't always feel it, but I think that's really true. That is a great measure of success, like really connecting with it.
yeah.
It is funny though. Sometimes I feel like I'm really connecting with it, and then I watch the video and I'm like, was I
Yes, you were. If you felt it, if you felt it.
Yeah, it is. It's better to think more about how you're feeling than necessarily about how you look. I think it can get a little too crazy, but I do like to see how I looked. But anyways, well, Letitia, this went by so
It
fast. Oh my
did.
gosh,
French people like to talk.
oh, I mean, I like to talk. I'm like, am I French? I think I might be a tiny bit French actually, but I'm a lot of things. But yeah, well, I loved hearing more about your story, and we're still gonna talk a little bit more. So even though we're gonna talk about the class, if there's anything else you think of that you really want to talk about, we can also add that to the follow up. So we'll see you guys in just a minute. Bye.
Hi.
Okay, I'm back with Letitia. We just took Malaya's lyrical class at MKM
MKM.
Culture. It's funny that we both said that because people call it Heart Dance Space, but I tend to call it MKM
Me
Cultural
too.
Arts Center or something because that's what you have to put into Google Maps when you're.
Exactly.
It doesn't
So you
recognize
don't
Heart
get
Dance
lost.
Space, so in my head I'm like MKM Cultural Arts Center in North Hollywood. Teachers like rent space there, so it's that type of studio. Um, and we're probably looking pretty sweaty because you get pretty sweaty even just from Malaya's warm up, which is very long and amazing, but it is so a sweaty a sweaty circumstance. What did you think about our dance?
Well, I don't think I did that well, but I like that I was feeling connected with the moment.
Yeah.
And, it's one of these things. It definitely felt like a round one. And I somehow pushed myself to try the front, which I never like to
Oh,
do ever,
nice.
and especially not in round one. And yeah, we haven't spoken about it so much yet on the podcast, but it's something that I have a hard time doing. And I know it's very important to own the front as a dancer and practice that. It's never my favorite spot, but yeah, it's good to practice it, even if it's going to make you blank or panic or,
Yeah.
today was a good reminder. I need to practice it more, even on round one.
Yeah.
And it was good. It was a good practice. And yeah, we love Malaya. I mean, it's obviously very special,
Yeah.
lyrical, all the feels.
Yeah.
What did you think?
It's funny because, well, what we're talking about with being in the front, it's funny because we're always so scared to be in the front because we don't have anyone to watch. But at the same time, we are dancing in front of a mirror. So,
Mm-hmm.
like, you can still see people in the mirror. So, I don't know why it freaks me out so much to be in the front because I'm like, well, really, I can still glance at the mirror if, like,
Yeah.
I need to see people. But it still is a little bit easier in the back. And there is, like, a little more pressure when you're in the front because people might be watching you.
Yeah,
So,
for
I think
sure.
that's part of it too.
You're so visible.
Yeah,
Um, I also feel like it depends on who's in the group with you, if you know the people well enough or not. For me, it makes a big difference.
that makes sense.
Because I feel like I have like trust issues and they really surface on the dance floor. So, it's easier if you have people that you know, and then makes a big difference for me
Yeah,
because I do tend to watch people when I blank
yeah.
on round one.
So there's certain people you know that usually have it. So we danced to Justin Bieber Purpose. Is it just called Purpose? I don't know.
I think so.
You give me purpose. Um, it was so beautiful.
I
I
know.
absolutely loved it.
I loved how the dog reacted when Malaya danced the first time. When she showed it the first time, Henry, the dog, was like, "Oh my
Yeah,
god!"
Malaya brought it's her friend's dog or something. He's so
Super
cute, but he's kind of shy and he's kind of hiding away the whole time. But the first time Malaya like put the music on and showed us, he got all excited and came out. And she's like, Henry, do you like the song? He wanted to dance with us. Um, I actually felt like I picked up the choreography better than I normally do on a round one. So this was both of our round one, even though Malaya does teach on Tuesday, but we tend to come on Thursday as our round one, and then Saturday's our round two. And I felt like I was getting it more than normal. Like I actually felt like I got everything, but then once we put it all together, I forgot it because it's like I'm getting it. Like I had the first part pretty good. I'm like, okay, I think I know it pretty good. And then I had the second part pretty good. And then we put it together and there's just too many similarities that I get
That
confused.
really gets me too.
Yeah. I'm like, because there's so many eight counts. Like her choreography tends to be really, really long, which is awesome because it's like a really good push and it's fun to dance for that long. But it's really hard for my brain. And there's a lot of moves that are similar. Like she doesn't do a lot of floor work or anything, which dancers say that that's like easier. But for me, the floor work makes it easier for me to remember the choreography because it's like
Yeah.
such a different move.
Yep. I
And
agree.
so when the moves are all kind of like a little bit similar, like this leg is out, but this time this arm is up. It's
Uh-huh.
like I get my
Exactly.
brain is like, wait, which one of these is this? I get really confused. But I mean, the more I take her, the more I'm like, I get a little more like, okay, she's done this move before. I kind of know it. But then it's still piecing it all together and like remembering the sequence. So when I'm watching the other groups, I try to like remember the sequence like okay
Yeah.
as they're dancing because I'm just like, oh my gosh, it's just so long. And I like when Malaya's in town because she does a lot of teaching like other places and other countries and things like that. But when she leaves for a long time, like I feel like I'm back to like sucking at picking up her choreography. So when she's here for a while, I'm like I notice myself start to get better. And just because also her warm-ups are so good. So when I actually have them like a couple times a week, I notice
Wow.
like my strength is building, my flexibility is building. So I mean, it's not her fault. I need to work on stuff on my own. But she is the only one that I know that puts together really long lyrical combos. So
Yeah. There was this moment specifically where we're facing right and then going back left, and I
Yeah.
swear, like there were two phrases that started the same,
Yes,
and
I
they
know
were
what you're
the
talking
same in
about.
my head.
Yeah, I kept mixing those up too. Except
Yeah,
I
that
think
was
I
wild.
ended up doing both of them wrong because I was just mixing it all up in my
Yeah, at
head. But
that
I know
point,
what you're
yeah,
talking about.
exactly.
But yeah, it was super fun. I don't know. It's one of, this is what I'm talking about with like, I've been talking about in different episodes, but like the vibe of the class,
Yeah.
if you leave feeling encouraged, because there many times I take Malayas and I don't really have it, but I
Mm,
still leave feeling like so good and like so
yeah.
encouraged because I don't know, it's just like such a nice atmosphere there. I
Yeah.
love the music, I love the dancing. Malaya's a very good teacher. She's like, she sets a standard, she tries to push you, but she's also kind and encouraging, and it's a very inclusive environment. So and I just like love the music she uses in the warm up. So it's just like a really nice, I always love
Yeah.
coming.
And it's
So
always the same song, and it creates something, like the beginning of class, it's always that same
yeah.
song. And, I took her class at Edge a little bit before, right before the pandemic. And yeah, same thing. She had the same song. And I
Really?
remember the first time we did it in class, in person again, after being locked out for so long, and the song came out, and I was like feeling so
You're like
emotional.
happy
Yeah.
tears. Yeah. I didn't know her back then. I would not have been able to take her class back then. I hadn't even taken a lyrical class back then, but
Yeah. She
um
gave me some
yeah.
really good advice at the time. She said, because I was doing developes, and I had all the wrong habits. And she's like, focus on your standing leg, because you do
Yeah,
develope and we're like, oh, I just want to lift my leg, but that's not what matters.
right.
Yeah.
I know. I got that advice recently from a ballet teacher that was subbing for my regular class, and she was like, focus on your standing leg, and we were doing center work and like lifting our working leg. I don't remember what we were doing exactly, but I was like, it helped me so much. My
Yeah.
balance was so much better. And I was like, oh, wow, I had no idea. So now Malaya says that too. And I'm like, oh, I really need to think about like focusing on the standing leg because we think that that's the unimportant leg. But
Mm-hmm.
it's like carrying everything. So you do have to think
Mm-hmm.
about it. So you just learn so much in dance. And yeah, and now I really want to go home and eat. So do you eat after class?
If class is at this time, I usually don't eat. I have this whole
Okay.
thing. I like to eat a lot in the morning.
Okay. But do you feel
Um,
hungry right now? Is it
no,
hard to not eat?
no, because usually eat a little bit right before class, which is weird for
Oh,
people. Yeah.
no, that's good. I think that's good. I like to eat a little before class anyways, but
Yeah.
no.
I'll do it socially more if because it's fun to go with
Yeah,
other
if people are
dancers
like
and stuff.
going to eat. I know we should do that sometime.
Yeah.
But I'm always starving after class. I always get home and I'm tired. I'm like, what do I do? Because I'm really tired, but I also have to take a shower and I also need to eat. There's like too many things. And then I'm up so late. I'm like, and
Yeah.
I need to post the dance. So I'm like analyzing it.
Yeah.
But anyway, Letitia, it was so fun to interview you. I love hearing your story. I'm just excited to keep taking more and more dance classes with you
Yeah.
and see what happens with it all. Who knows? Like, even if you don't have an exact goal for it, just working hard and doing it, you just never know if, not that that's what you're in it for, but you never know if some kind of cool opportunity with dance will come up or who knows. So the dance journey continues. So thank you guys for listening. If you have any questions for me or Letitia, just drop a comment, DM us. I don't know, whatever you guys do on the internet. And we'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye.